Hi everybody, this is Greg from ClevelandVinyl.com. In this video I wanted to explain what an archive master is and why they're my best-selling records. I started selling archive masters on ClevelandVinyl.com in 2009, and what they are they're the best-sounding record that I have come across from a pressing perspective. So you look at 5 to 10 copies of one title. In this case we're going to look at Bruce Springsteen's Born to Run 1975 from Columbia Pressings, and we're going to run through. I actually have 11 different pressings, and you're going to see 6 of them today that I narrowed down, and they're a wide variety of sources, and I'll explain that throughout the video. But archive masters have been incredible for me. They are the best sounding records that I sell, and they come in all varieties. Some are USA pressings, some are Japan pressings, some are even record club pressings, and if you find that hard to believe, I'll explain why in the video. But basically, an archive master is going to be the best sounding version of a record that I come across. And all of them have a return policy, so if you don't agree with me, if you run it through your system and you think you have a better sounding version, you can certainly return it. But my return rate is less than 1%, which I'm very proud of. And throughout this video, I'm going to show you the process and how it works. Thank you very much. So with the Archive Master, I will start with, in this case, 11 copies, and I've narrowed it down to 6. Usually it's 3 to 4, and then I'll bring it upstairs to my upstairs system, my high-end system that I test records on up here. Down below, downstairs, you'll see in another video my basement system and how that works, but basically it's a Project turntable with an Adcom cartridge running through a tube preamp, and then directly connected to Denon high-end headphones. So it's very unforgiving, and you can hear every little nuance on the record, and that's important because then I take notes on each record, and then the top, in this case 6 records, I'm bringing upstairs to listen to on my system using my Polk SDA SRS audiophile speakers. And then I'll take more notes, and then the best sounding one will be the Archive Master. Thank you. So here are the top 6 contenders for an archive master from Cleveland Vinyl. We have 6 different pressings of Bruce Springsteen's Born to Run, everything from a USA first pressing to a 2014 European pressing, and I'll zoom in so you guys can see the notes. But basically what this is my top 6 pressings. I had 5 more in the basement, so this is a total of 11 pressings. And then usually one of the better pressings I will compare to the CD also, or if there's a FLAC recording of the very high-end 96 kilohertz audiophile version online, I'll do that too. But basically what I'm starting with is you have a 1975 first pressing with the PC. The later ones are JC. This is a Columbia House pressing from 1980. Then we have a 1977 second USA JC pressing. A 1984 Japan reissue with a really bad-looking cover. And then we have the newest one I have, which is the 2014 remaster. Chris Bellman, who's a very good mastering engineer, remastered this as part of the Bruce Springsteen box set that came out in 2014. Sounds very good. Will it sound better than the vintage ones? We'll see. And then this is a 1975 first pressing PC also. So I've got 2 USA first pressings. The thing about the 2014 pressing is this was mastered from a digital file. So the other 5 on here are going to be all analog, which means you have the master tape, and then it goes to the cutting machine and by the mastering engineer, and then it's pressed onto vinyl, so it's 100% analog. In my experience, the analog recordings always sound better to me. They sound warmer, they sound much more 3D-like, and to me they just sound better. Even if there's tape hiss and everything like that involved, they just tend to sound better. So this one will be interesting. Now I can't play the music because YouTube will flag me for copyright information, but I'll show you the process and you can get the idea. And you can do this at home too. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave a comment below. And please subscribe to my store too, because that is important as I get more followers and you guys have questions, I can answer them for you directly. I've been in the selling of vinyl records since 2007, and I've been a collector for 25 years. So here we are testing the 1975 USA first pressing, the PC 33795, and I'm going to take some notes on it. What I usually will do is find one song on each side and test that song on, in this case, 6 different albums. And it will give me a good analysis of how this one was pressed and how well it sounds through a higher end system. For those that haven't seen my other videos, this is my main system, which is in my living room, which has Polk SDA SRSs that are modified, a SVS subwoofer, a Marantz preamp, and a Bob Carver designed Sunfire high-end amplifier. And I'm gonna sit down and listen to this and take some notes on how it sounds, and then I'm gonna do that 5 more times. And then I go to side 2, and I'll find a song on there and do the same thing, and then kind of decide from there. Okay, so now I'm on side 2, and I forgot to mention that the song on side 1 that I was listening to was Backstreets. It's a very good balance. It starts off slow and goes much harder throughout the song. And in the slower parts of the song, you can listen for background noise and fidelity and dynamics. And then later on, you can listen for the bass and everything else that I'm testing versus the other pressings. Now I'm on side 2. We're listening to Jungleland. And again, I can't play the music, but I'm about to put the record weight on and sit down and listen and see how it sounds, and compare that with 5 other pressings, so for a total of 6. Okay, so now I listened to both sides and I took some notes, and let me just explain how this is. So at the top it states the date, and then it explains what pressing this is. In this case, it's 1975 USA first pressing. The PC, it's a Columbia PC 33795. And then I base my grades out of 10, so a 10 being the very best, 1 would be totally unacceptable. So in the bass category, side 1 was a 7, side 2 was an 8. Dynamics, the difference between the loudest and the softest passages, side 1 was a 7 out of 10, side 2 was an 8. Fidelity, which would be like the treble in the mid-range, trying to listen for the clarity of the record, that was excellent, 9 and 9 on both sides. And then here's the killer for this record. This is why this one will never be an archive master. The noise level is way too high. In this case, it was only a 4 out of 10 on side 1, 6 out of 10 on side 2, and the opening groove had a lot of noise, which is annoying when you're first playing a record. That is usually the spot that gets the most wear because people will play it the most, and a lot of times the stylus drops onto that part and creates a nick in the vinyl, thus causing little noises and marks and everything else. It's a good balance of everything except noise level. So this one is out as far as the archive master. I won't go through all 6, but basically that is the process. That's why these are more expensive than a regular pressing, because they take hours. And I don't mind doing it because you get to listen to your favorite music over and over and over again and find the little differences between the sound, the sound quality differences between the pressings, which is a pleasure. But it does take time, so that is why they are more expensive, and that's why some are over $100. Okay, it took me about 3 hours to get through all these, but basically I've got my best sounding one of this batch. And let me just run through the notes real quick. You can kind of see, my handwriting is terrible, but I can understand it. In this one, the first pressing, not as good as the other first pressing. The bass, the dynamics, the fidelity weren't nearly as good as the one I just showed you. This is the Record Club pressing. Not as good as the rest, clearly a step down. Most Record Club pressings are, but there are really good ones. I remember Michael Jackson Bad. The Record Club pressing was pressed on a Qui-X vinyl, which was the translucent vinyl, and it sounded fantastic. So there are sometimes surprises like that, but for the most part, the Record Club pressings, RCA and Columbia House, were of a lesser quality, and it was the case here too. This is the one I just did and showed you guys in detail. The noise level was too high, everything else was good. This is the second pressing from 1977. It's very balanced and clean. The guitars are louder than the rest of the pressings, which was interesting. Now here's an interesting one. This is 2014 remaster. Chris Bellman, who certainly knows what he's doing. Very good on bass, dynamics, fidelity, and noise level. As you can see, all high grades. But the problem was the digital mastering does take something out of it. It's like recreating the music, and to me it sounded thin, and it sounded like the CD, which doesn't sound 3D to me at all. But it has good bass, it's very bright, good noise level, good, almost a silent background, but that digital remastering really takes something out of it, in my opinion. The best sounding one for me today was this 1984 Japan reissue. It's the CBS 25 AP 1274. High marks and everything, and it's vintage, which is nice. It's 100% analog, which is what I look for in records. My notes, it says clear throughout, low noise level, sounds excellent. The 3D aspect is something that stands out to me. So is this good enough to be an archive master? It could be, but I couldn't sell an archive master with this cover. It just does not look good. And I don't like to change out covers unless I absolutely have to. So I'm gonna order a couple more Japan, probably a first pressing and another 1984 reissue, and test this one against those and see if I can find one. But that is the process for archive masters. Please let me know if you have any questions. And there's going to be more videos detailing my record cleaning process and how I get to find these records and the nice sound improvements that archive masters will give you over regular pressings. One more thing before I wrap it up. I forgot to mention that I do keep notes, and I have like a master book that has all my notes in it, so that if I get another Born to Run album, which I will certainly do, I can quickly go to the best one that I have and compare that one to what I consider would be an archive master or very close to it, to skip some of the time that's involved in trying to find 10 pressings, whittle it down to one. So I'll keep the notes that I have in the liners and then put it in my overstock section. And when I get a new one, I can go immediately to the best one. In this case, it was a 1984 Japan pressing. And then that will allow me to compare what I consider the best out of 10 to this new one that I have, whether it's a new release, whether it's an old release, whether it's first pressing, whatever. So thank you again, and let me know if you have any questions or comments.